Okay, so what is up, ladies and gents? I thought I would do a little wish list for WWE 2K25. So obviously we are only 3 months away now from the release of WWE 2K25, which will inevitably be releasing in March. I think a lot of people will be hoping that things go better for WWE 2K24 and that it doesn't end up in a similar situation to WWE 2K25 in that 6 months after the game came out, it was basically trash. So, the first thing on my wish list, number one, no more non-wrestling and also non-wrestler celebrity-based DLCs. Now, I would hope that 2K have learned a very valuable lesson from the atrocity that was the Pat McAfee Show DLC, Pat McAfee DLC pack, which was a DLC pack, one of the DLCs pack released for WWE 2K24. Now, the problem with that DLC was that apart from Pat McAfee, people weren't familiar with the other guys that were in the DLC pack. Like, no one really knew who they were or were really familiar with them. Like, of course, people would want to be very familiar with Pat McAfee, but it's understandable that people weren't going to be familiar with a lot of the other guys that were included in in that DLC pack, because nobody really watches the Pat McAfee show. So, like, people didn't know who they were, and it was like, well, why have you released such a pointless DLC pack? Because that was a DLC we could have seen so many names, like, potentially, names like Obafemi, Lexus Hin. That would have been like an NXT DLC, a whole host of NXT stars in the game. Because, this was the thing that I noticed with 2K. As it felt like we did get a few big names, like main roster names, WWE legends. But it felt like we didn't really get that kind of many sort of new names from NXT, which would have been nice to have gotten sort of really, the NXT stars, in a DLC pack rather than the Pat McAfee DLC pack that we got for 2K24, which nobody even asked for. So, in at number 2 on the list, I've gone with either scrapping 2K Showcase or just doing a new one, a better one. Like, the only DLC pack, the only 2K Showcase I completed was the one that with WWE 2K22, which was the Rey Mysterio 2K Showcase. I didn't complete the John Cena Showcase for 2K23, and I didn't complete the 40 years of WrestleMania Showcase with 2K24. To be honest, I do feel like, I wouldn't be a fan of the 40 years of WrestleMania DLC that they brought out with 2K24. I didn't think it was, that brilliant a game. I think it was, that brilliant, a showcase. I think it was a bit of a letdown, to be honest. I'd like to see them do like a 2K showcase on someone like maybe CM Punk, possibly Bray Wyatt. Maybe it would be cool to have a Bray Wyatt showcase. I think that would be a really cool thing to have in the game. I'd like to see that. There's not really anybody else that I think of that. Maybe The Rock, maybe a 2K showcase for The Rock would be cool. Or maybe we've never really had an Undertaker themed 2K showcase, so maybe we could have an Undertaker themed 2K showcase. But then we've already got quite a few variants of the Undertaker already in the game. So would we really need any more variants of the Undertaker in the game? I don't know. So in at number 3, it's bring back either the Road to WrestleMania or Defeat the Streak. Now, imagine doing a Road to WrestleMania with like the updated, like the modern day kind of like WWE rosters. I think that would be so cool, and I think, obviously they don't have to bring back both Defeat the Streak and Road to WrestleMania. It could bring back either one. I'm not fussed on which one they would bring back. I don't really have that preference over, which one I'd like to see brought back. As long as one of them was brought back, Defeat the Streak or, Road to WrestleMania, I think that would be a huge win for 2K if they could bring something like that back. Because I feel like that, the modes like Defeat the Street, Road to WrestleMania, were modes that kind of made the old games so popular. And some of the old games are still really popular. Wrestling games are still really popular now. For those, mainly for those reasons, and mainly because it does kind of feel like gameplay in the older games was actually better to the gameplay, better than the gameplay that we see now. I went back the other day and I was playing WWE 13 and WWE 14 on the Xbox 360. And I'd say that I probably had much more of an enjoyable experience playing those games than I did playing 2K24. I actually feel like I even went back and I was playing SmackDown Hit Comes the Pain, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth and all that on the PS2 the other day. And again, I feel like I had a more enjoyable experience with those games than I did with WWE 2K24. I mean, for me, 2K24 it's the biggest waste of money at the moment. It's just not great. To be fair, I mean, the gameplay itself is not bad. But there are a lot of improvements that need to be made in certain areas, especially when it comes to WWE 2K25. Now, the next one on the list is, I think that's number 3 on the, I think that's number 3 on the list. So number 4 on the list would be, fix the servers. So it's fair to say that the servers for WWE 2K24 are mediocre, and that's putting it mildly. I know I've been I had posted videos in the past where I've been very critical of WWE 2K24, and I've said about how the game is such a joke, because it actually is. The servers of the game are an absolute joke, and the worst thing is, it's like, when you email 2K and you say, well, this is the issue, or, this is the problem with the game, it needs fixing, they claim it's a problem with your, like, they try and claim it's a problem with your game, or it's like a problem with your console, or whatever it is. It's like they're not willing to take, responsibility and accept that it's a problem with their game. It feels like they're always saying it's a problem with your console. Like, it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. In terms of number 5 on the list, just I guess more creation slots. Maybe have like 200 slots instead of 100. That would be an improvement. I would like to see that, maybe, to be honest. I think that would be good if they could do that. So, in at number 6, next gen only, I do think that WWE 2K25 should be next gen only. Like, I think they should start sort of taking their focus away from like Xbox One and PS4 and stop bringing the games out for those platforms, and only kind of bring the games out for the next gen consoles. But then I think the problem with that is, I think if they did that, there'd be a lot of upset from the people that are actually still playing on the Xbox One and PS4. As people would say, well, why have they stopped bringing the games out on the PS4 and Xbox One? People wouldn't be happy with that. I think some people wouldn't be happy with it, but I think, the general consensus I have seen, from reading, on social media and things like that, I have mainly seen people saying the same thing. They need to stop bringing the games out on the PS4 and Xbox One and focus on the next gen consoles, fully on the next gen consoles. In at number 7, I would say, in at number 6, I would say, bring back the old backstage area. Now, that used to be quite fun in 2K17 to 2K20. I like that backstage arena. I preferred that one to the one that we've had from 2K22 to 24 currently. you know, it's like her bring that one back, that old, you know, backstage arena area back and have that like as an alternate backstage area. You know, I think that would be pretty cool if they did that. You know, I think it would be awesome to see them, you know, do something like that. You know, make more backstage areas instead of just one. And I remember again, this was something I noticed playing with like WWE 13, WWE 14. There were multiple backstage areas. There wasn't just one backstage area. There were like multiple different backstage areas, and I quite like that. You know, but I know that they'll never go back to that kind of thing. But that would be cool if they did. You know, it's just so it was just such a cool little feature that they had like multiple backstage areas to choose. So in terms of number 7, I would say, I mean, I don't know what I would say for number 7. So I guess for number 7, I would say make the special guest referee matches available in different match types. So obviously in WWE 2K24 you can only have a special guest referee in a singles match, but I would love to see them do it in a different match, like in tag matches or triple threat matches. I think it would be cool and it would make the special guest referee mode a lot more fun if you could do it in like multi-man matches. You know, instead of just singles matches, if you know what I mean. So in terms of number 8, I would say, I mean, I don't know what, to be honest, I don't know what else I would have on my wish list, really. I've got like 7 ideas, for what I would want to see, but, I don't know what else to suggest. I mean, I'd love to hear what you guys would like to see in an updated in like WWE 2K25, or, you know, in future iterations to a series, what you would want to see. I think, for me, if I had to pick another 8, I'd say more returning match types. So, Inferno matches, hard slip matches, light quick matches. Because we have seen light quick matches on TV. You know, we saw a light quick match at the I think it was at the Clash at the Castle event back in earlier on in the year when Hardy faced AJ Styles in a light quick match. So we all seen them on TV. So it'd be cool to see the light quick matches make her return into A25. Obviously, as we all seen them on TV. You know, I think it would make sense. What else would I suggest? I would say number 9 is Fitz Bailey's character model for 2K24. As our model for WWE 2K24 is horrendous. So Fitz, they need to fix that in WWE 2K25. In the number 10, I would say an Impact themed DLC. Now, this is something they could very well do. They could do like an Impact themed DLC pack, where we had names like, we've seen obviously a few names from Impact Wrestling appearing in WWE this year. Obviously, WWE had that collaboration with TNA. So it'd be interesting to see some DLC pack themed around the stars of TNA Impact. So, you know, you'd have stars like Jordan Race, Joe Hendry. Obviously, I believe in Joe Hendry. It'd be great to have him in the game, wouldn't it, if we could. To be honest, I'm sure I don't see why Impact Wrestling would have any objections or any reasons for their wrestlers to not be included in a 2K game. Like, would they, is that something they would have a problem with? Would they allow them to appear in the WWE game? I don't see why why they would object to that, or they would have a problem with that. But you never really know. That is something that TNA Impact, that TNA would in fact be a little bit funny about. It would say that there's certain rules or whatever. But it would be cool if he had an Impact themed DLC pack. Something like in the house to be able to have stars like Jordan Race and Jordan and Joe Hendry in the game would be kind of cool. So I mean that's all I can really think of really is that selection there. Do I think we'll see any of the updated titles like the Women's IC and Women's US Championship? To be honest, I don't know. I would probably say it's unlikely. Considering they were probably revealed, like they were probably introduced on TV quite late into the development for 2K25. So it might be a little bit of a push to say that they will be included. We could see the updated IC Championship. We could very well see the updated IC and Men's IC Championship in the game. We could very well see the updated NXT Arena and the updated NXT Championships in the game as well. We could see those, but I'm not sure how likely it is that we will see the Women's IC Championship and Women's US Championship in the game. I would say it's probably 50-50 on that one. Like, with the other things like the updated NXT Championships, the updated NXT Arena, the updated Men's IC title, I'm more confident on those things, but I'm not as confident on the Women's IC title and the Women's US Championship. I'd like to believe we could see them, but I don't know. I honestly don't. What arenas do I think will be in the game? So I think we'll get the arenas from all of the shows in 2023. I'm not expecting us to get any of the 2024 arenas in the game. We'll probably get the no. We'll get the arenas from this year, so we'll get all of the arenas. We will actually get all of the arenas that will for the shows that we had this year in 2024. So we'll get WrestleMania 40. We'll probably get SummerSlam 2024. We'll probably get we might get the Clash at the Castle arena. It would be cool to have that arena in the game, because we've never had that arena in the game, so it would be cool. We'll probably get we might get the Bash and Berlin arena, I don't know. We might get Bad Blood, we might get, I honestly don't know what arenas will be in the game. I don't know what's more likely than not. I don't know about the updated Raw and SmackDown arenas, probably at a push. I think there's probably the chance. But yeah, I mean, as I said, I've given my wish list and my thoughts on what I would like to see. I think if I had to add one other thing, I would say, and I know this is probably wishful thinking and I know it will never happen, but I would say get rid of my faction. But I know that obviously I won't waste my breath on that one, because I know that removing my faction is not something that will ever happen. Unfortunate to say, but it is one of those things that won't happen. Because the problem with 2K is that's like their biggest, like, that's what's making them the most money, I guess, is the My Faction stuff. As people are, putting so much money into My Faction, and that's the money that that's what they're making the most money from. So it's like, why would they remove something that is ultimately making them so much money? It's like they're not gonna do that, are they? Like they're not gonna remove something from the game that's ultimately making them a decent amount of money. I mean, it's sad to say it, but it's true. At the end of the day, obviously, My Faction is what is making them quite a decent amount of money. 2K are not going to remove a game mode from the game that's making them, that they're making so much money from ultimately. you know, it's sad to have to admit that, but it is true. You know, they're not going to do that. Because they're not going to, you know, I think the problem with 2K, they're not going to see, you know, they don't think there's a reason to remove my faction. They don't see a reason to remove that. I don't think it's something that many people have said they need to do. I don't think too many people have said they need to remove my faction, but I know it's something that I think a lot of people would want to see, but I think it's something that people know is never going to happen because it's at the end of the day, it's what makes 2K the most money. You know, I mean, to be honest, I mean, I don't think that WWE 2K24 is a horrible game for the most part. I don't think it's a spectacularly awful. You know, I don't think it's an unmitigated failure. I think it's certainly been, you know, an okay game, and I think there have been some good improvements on what we saw in, you know, from what we saw in 2K23, which was basically, you know, a copy and paste of 2K22 with just some updated arenas and updated superstar and attires and things like that. You know, like WWE 2K23 didn't feel any different to WWE 2K22 apart from the fact that we got the War Games arena and like the War Games match in the game finally. But with 2K24 there was a lot more improvements, there were a lot more kind of new match types added. It just feels better than what they did with 2K23, and I feel like the 2K games can only get better. I fear that, but the thing is, when it comes to like the Pat McAfee DLC, that calamity that was the Pat McAfee DLC pack, I fear that 2K haven't learned their lesson from that, and I fear that they could make that same mistake again and go and give us another DLC pack that is just as bad as the Pat McAfee DLC pack was. I hope they don't. I hope they have learned their mistake and learned their lesson from that, you know, and realised that it probably, you know, that them releasing that DLC pack probably wasn't a very good idea, but I honestly don't think they would have learned a valuable lesson from that because, I mean, yeah, the DLC was met with a lot of negativity and a lot of, you know, there was a lot of negative feedback from people because no one wanted that DLC pack and no one wanted the load of random wrestling celebrities in the game. No one asked for that. You know, at least put people in the game that, you know, that people are going to be familiar with, like, you know, people are going to be familiar with, and, you know, people that, you know, wrestling fans are going to know well. Instead of putting in a load of random guys that nobody hardly knows who they are. You know, apart from obviously Pat McAfee, that was the only recognisable face in that DLC pack. For me, I think my two favourite DLC packs were the one that came out in, I think it was May, which was the ECW pack, and then the one that came out in September. That was a really good DLC pack as it added superstars like Lyra Valkyria, Nia Jax, obviously Dragon Lee, Harley-To, obviously Jade Cargill, Hyrie Sane. So yeah, that DLC was really good. I really liked. You know, I think they did brilliantly with that. So yeah, I hope we see more. I hope that things are going to be good for 2K25. I hope that it's not another situation where people will get bored of it very quickly. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's going to be, things will be a lot more positive. Hopefully the servers will be a lot better for 2K25 as well. We'll see. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you for another one soon. Bye bye.